good to go. So it'll be recorded there, yeah. So I'm actually in Command right now. This is what I'm going to be working in. But the name of the class is Commanding Your Listing Presentations with Designs. So if you haven't been in Command in a while, what they did recently was they added in templates for your buyer and listing presentations. And you can edit and customize those in a tool or applet that they're calling Designs. And Designs is awesome. Not only do they have things like listing templates, buyer templates, they have just resource materials for postcards, flyers, pretty much every type of graphic that you would need. It's awesome. Any of your marketing collateral you can create in Command now. So within Command, I want to go and click this red button, which you can't see. Let me just move my screen a little bit here. I'm going to do this so you can see it a little bit better. Let me just move this out. And on the right-hand side, or the left-hand side rather, sorry, there is a button there. It's a red button. So I want everyone to click that. So we click the red button. And you're going to see there's a tool here called Designs. So that's what we're going to be working with primarily today. And within Designs, if we click it, you're going to see here a dashboard screen. And if you haven't created any designs, you're going to see a blank screen. It's going to say something like create your first design. Now I've created quite a few. And you'll see here that I have a nice little library. So as you start creating designs, you'll have a library available that you can kind of reference back to later on. Now, if I want to go ahead and create a new design, there is a button on the bottom here. It's a little blue button with a plus sign in it. And I'm going to click that. And when I click that, it's going to bring up a card. So I like to kind of mention things in Command as cards. Anytime you're working with any of the applets, there's all these pop-up cards. So it makes it a little bit easier to kind of digest. And there are a few different options available to you currently. You can see here I have emails, I have social, print, video, and an import. Now, one cool thing about the import functionality is if you had a listing presentation that you used before, let's say you had a PDF copy of that you want to use again on a new listing presentation or buyer consultation, you can actually upload that PDF in here. It converts it into an editable template, and then you can work just off of that one. So if you had one that was built a year or two ago that you want to use because you like how it looked, go and try out this import functionality. However, Command does have some really nice, clean, modern ones that you can work with. And to get access to those, I want to hit print. And I want to hit this button here. It says next. So I'm going to hit next. And what it's going to do now, it's going to bring me into my Designs dashboard once this loads up. And you're going to see here on the left-hand side, there's a few different drop-down menus. So I have my KW app templates, listing, buyer, lead gen, buyer, business basics, and then I have some leadership ones as well. Now, let's say I want to do a listing presentation. If I click this listing dropdown, the first thing that it's going to list is a listing presentation. So if I click on that, you're going to see here it gives me two different book templates. So right here, both 27 pages. One is called Modern, the other one's called Classic. Pick whichever one you like, It's your day, so you can pick whichever one is your best option. So I'm just going to use the Classic one for now. We're going to work with that. So I'm going to click the Use button. And what it's going to do, it's going to load me into this template editor, as you can see. So on the right-hand side is the blank canvas. I need to start adding my pages, right? The left-hand side on this end is the template pages that I can create. So it gives you a blank canvas to work with. So agents don't necessarily have to use every single page that they provide. So that's why they made it a blank canvas, so you can kind of customize it the way that you want. So from here, if I want to start adding pages, on the left-hand side here, I'm going to take in some of these pages. So I'm going to scroll down this list, and it does give you an instruction manual as well if you want to, see what the instructions are in regards to how you can edit this. Otherwise, I'm going to stay with this first page here. This can be my, maybe my title page. And then when you click on it, it's going to load the page in. You're going to see. And it's going to give me some of the information already pre-populated. So it's going to give me some things like the names that I can edit. It has some stock images here that I can also change out. My DBA logo, which I can also change. And then they'll have some additional things like my name that I can also edit. So from here, how do I start editing this? Everything that I'm hovering over is essentially editable. So things like the text, for example, I can say here, it already has my name in it. I'm just going to edit the last name. So if you double click on the text, you can edit the text. We can also, if we single click on it, we can actually change the sizing, or we can move it around. We can move it around the template. And then I can just kind of section this right back there. You'll notice that when I'm moving things around, there's like those little blue dots and like little blue lines that were coming. Those are guides. So the guides actually help you make sure everything's kind of like centered and looks proportioned correctly. And it's super useful, especially for me, to be able to see that where I know like, okay, the text is centered correctly, or the, whatever I'm working with looks good. So as far as the text goes, again, you can double click it, I can edit it. There's also some options on the top here to change like the colors, or if I want to change the font styles. One other really awesome thing about this system is that they have like hundreds of different fonts in here. So if you're like me, who likes to kind of make things a little bit more unique to what I like, there's so many different types of fonts in there that you can work with. So it's awesome. So I'm just going to go ahead and I want to edit some of the information about myself here. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit so you can see it. So this is obviously not me, so I need to switch out the information, right? One of the cool things about this, if I go to images, is that it's taking the information from my profile that I created in Command, and it's sort of auto-populating some stuff for me. So like my headshot, for example, I can just drag it in, drag it over, and then it replaces it on the template. Now for here, I'm just gonna double click on the text, and I'm gonna type my name in. And then I'm also gonna put my last name as well. Let's just double click there. And I'm just gonna drag this over so it's right here. There we go. Cool. Awesome. So I have my name, my headshots in there. Now as far as the information about myself, I can go and do the same exact steps. Double clicking into it, editing the text that I need, and then I'm all set. Now for the images, I can change this to the image of the home. So let's say I'm going to use maybe an exterior of that person's home. Now, how do I get those images? There's a couple ways you can do it. So for properties, you can actually pull in listing data. So if I want to pull in that person's home specifically, or if it was something that was already listed, I can pull in the images directly. For templates, or for KWS rather, there's an option here if you click it, and you can actually pull in listing data. So if I want to type in an address here, it's going to give me back all the information about the home directly. Pretty awesome. But what if I don't have that information? What if we're working on getting the listing and it hasn't already been listed? You can still go ahead and upload images here as well. So they do have a button where you can add images, and you can just essentially drag and drop them in. So I know I'm just going to use an example here. I'll pull in an image. that I just happen to have on my desktop. Let's go ahead and get one. So I just uploaded the image, right? And there's two ways you can upload the image back into the template. I can click on it and I can go here and hit this replace button. I'm just gonna do that. Or we can drag and drop it. So I can also drag and drop it over the template as well, and that will also switch it on the template. So depending on how you like to work, I like the drag and drop method, but if you prefer, you can just click on the image, and on the left-hand side, you can replace the images on the template. And don't mind if it looks blurry right now. Typically after you save it, it comes back to being high res. It's just like a little bit of a glitch right now. So I think I have that page corrected. So I'm gonna go back to my templates menu here on the top. Actually, let me just get in my icons, or my logos rather. Let's drag one of those in. I'm gonna put this one in. Let's go ahead and drag that over. So again, I did another drag and drop there with the logo. If you have your own custom logos, or if you want to upload additional logos, if I go to the menu here where it says logos, there's going to be an option on the bottom that says add to library. And that's where I can then go ahead and put in the logos that I want to use. So I uploaded quite a few of them in here, you can see. Depending on the template I use, I might need a light colored logo, or I might need a dark colored logo. So you can upload as many as you want. Typically, you're going to have a light and dark colored one depending on the template. So just be mindful of that. All right, cool. So the main page, we're good to go with. Now, if I go back to my templates again, I mentioned that there's quite a few different pages in here that you can add in. So I'm just going to go through and you can see, I have like a table of contents page if I want to add that. And again, it's going to be the same sort of idea with editing purposes. It's going to load the page in, and it's going to have the information about the steps involved, my table of contents. So you see here your property, your guide, your custom marketing plan, and then representing your home. So from here, if you go on to the left-hand side again, there's templates that I can pop in there. And let's say I want to get a property one in there, I can go ahead and hit this. And as I build this out, I can click this button right on the bottom here. It says pages. And I can actually see the pages that I currently have within my template. You can see. And I can also rearrange them if I just drag and drop. Yeah, there we go. So I can drag and drop these pages. Ooh. Let's go ahead and move that over. There we go. So as I'm building out this presentation, I can actually go ahead and rearrange them however I'd like as well. So this particular page looks like it's giving me more information about that neighborhood. So I can pop in information about that particular neighborhood that the home is currently in. And then they do have another one here that I also like. It's a kind of like a neighborhood snapshot page. You can also add things like your comparables. So from here, with the comparables, you can actually put in a comparable page, grab the information that you get from listings that are in the area for that. Yeah.
Question, can you straight remove a page?
You could, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to delete a page that you may have added on accident.
Or even one from the template.
So the template pages are just going to be there, but you don't have to necessarily use them. They're only just there for you to pull from if you need to. So right now, how I'm building it out, I'm just choosing the pages I want.
Okay, so you take from the template, and
Yeah.
then each page goes to
Yeah.
building the...
Yeah, so you can see right now I have 3 pages in there, and those are only just the ones I'm pulling from currently. So some of these are actually good because they're just pre-populated with info already. So like things like the marketing process, or they'll have some things here like your needs come first, the process, your custom marketing plan. Now every agent works differently. So for them, if they have a different marketing strategy, you can actually pull in one of these pages here, let's say the process. And for the process here, it's going to give you a checklist of items. Now, I might not do all these items specifically, so maybe I can change some of them. So maybe I need to change some of the steps that I currently have on this page. And you can do that again just by double clicking here, and I can change the information. I think a lot of the information that they pre-populate is really good though. So if you prefer just to use what they have, I think it's still pretty useful. Things like the marketing strategy is also really cool because it gives you some of the digital marketing assets that you can see. Finding your buyer. So a lot of this stuff is really awesome. You know, if I click in again, I'm just going to add in additional pages here. And as I'm adding pages, it's building out my guide. So right now I have 8 pages currently. So I'm building out and fleshing out my presentation. Media plan, I'm just going to pop in some of those as well. Strategic promotion, pop some of those in. Open house strategy. So really what this is doing, it's kind of just giving you like a head start on building out the presentation, and then you can go back in and then start editing it however you want. So it's going to be essentially custom to you. And from here you can see like even like my strategic promotion. If I zoom in a little bit, you can see it. Walkthroughs and need analysis, professional photography. Now maybe you're not going to have professional photos done for this home, so you can even just remove that stuff. Professional yard signage, a lot of this stuff you can definitely edit if you don't need it. But it's really awesome that they kind of give you that stuff. Things like just listed, social media stuff, these are all things you can actually build in Command too. So when it has some of these things on the list, Command already has like the tools for you to actually do all this stuff. So things like the digital marketing or the direct marketing campaigns like postcards and flyers, that's already built into Command. You can already do that stuff. So things on this page here, I think I popped it in before. Let me see. If I go over to, oh, I didn't pop it in. Let's do that. I'll show you. Let's do the media plan. We'll hit add. So under my media plan here, the one thing that I like about this as well is that it gives you just some samples of items that were actually built in Command already. So things like the postcards or flyers or even just listed brochures. These are all things that Command has already if you haven't already played around with them. And the cool thing about these particular materials is that they're all drag and drop. So how I'm doing this presentation, the same way that you work with the listing presentation packet, it applies to all the other design materials in Command as well. So it's all this very kind of like intuitive system. Any questions about this so far? Is it making sense? So the one thing that they don't have currently yet, and I know they're going to have it soon, is to actually be able to build out the listing console, like the CMA report. That's the last step involved with this whole system. And then from there, you'd be able to just pull that in directly as well. But again, you do have the page available. So I could, you know, hypothetically go in, I can pull in a comp page, and I can add that in and just edit it myself. So the information's already kind of laid out. I just have to change out like the property addresses and photos. So you can see here all this stuff here. Now the cool thing about this is that because you have access to KWLS, if I already know the properties that I need to pull in, I can just go here where it says KWLS, and then let's say I need to pull in, somebody just shout out an address, I'll pull one in. Any address.
66 Fulton Street.
Fulton? Where is it located? What's Weehawken? Let's be a little Weehawken. Let's see, 28. 74. All right, I'm just going to use I'll use the 74 for now. Maybe we're doing a comp around 66. So we're going to do 74 Fulton. And it's going to give me the information, again, because I'm pulling it in from the KWS MLS feed. And I'm just gonna pop in some of the images. So I'm gonna say I'm gonna use this one here, right? So I just pop it in. I just dragged and dropped it. So for listing details, I can just go ahead and we can double click on here and we can just put 74 Fulton Street, and all the other information over here I can also change out. And this one here, I can get like the list price, sold price. Awesome. I have that information available pretty much on the fly. So that makes it a little bit easier for me, not having to go back into the MLS a million times, try to download the images, but you can't. So you have to make some like screen cap of the images.
Crop out the water.
Yeah. You already know. You know how it goes. Yeah.
I've heard that.
So yeah, when you're putting together that comp page, this makes it a little bit easier for you. All right, so if I go back to templates, again, this is going to be pretty straightforward. You know, I already gathered 12 pages that I want. You know, I can also add in a cover page right here. We'll pop this one in, and then I'll just put that to the beginning of my presentation. So I'm going to take that listing presentation page here, and I'm just going to drag it to the front, and then I'll edit this as well. So again, I can just kind of go over here. I'm just going to use one of these images again, so we'll go ahead and just, let's pop in, no, I don't like that one. We'll use this one here, pop it over, that looks good. And then we can say something like, it doesn't have to say listing presentation template, it can just be something like listing presentation, you know, however I want to have it set up. You know, I can pop my logo in there if I want as well, give it a little spice. So pop the logo in, and then we can just kind of crop this a little bit, make it smaller, center it. So this is your presentation. So the way I'm doing it, you don't have to do it that way. You can do it however you want. But I'm just kind of trying to like fancy it up a little bit. So you got your main page here. Then I can go over and see, you know, I can review all the other pages as I go along. But essentially it's going to be whatever pages I want to actually pop in there. And I can go in and edit them. And then once you actually create this, you can reuse this as many times as you want. You can just change the information out. So you have this nice modern looking presentation that you can bring with you on a presentation. One other cool thing that I also like about this is that you can also have it in a digital format. So if I want to be able to kind of swipe through it on a tablet with my client or potential client, if I go up to the top here where it has that little share button, and right next to it's the download one, if you're curious, that's where you can actually download it. But if I want to share this and have it as a live presentation, there's a button right next to this design called the project. So this project link is essentially live. And if I open it up in another tab here, you're going to see, ooh, what has happened here. One sec. Let's save this real quick. Try that again. Hold on. All right, so let's try this link again. Hopefully that works. Okay. We'll try it again in a second. Let's see if we can get this to work. All right, maybe it doesn't want to work for me right now. It's okay. But basically, you would have access to a digital copy of this presentation that you can access on the go. So if you rather have it in a digital format, maybe it's not a client that you necessarily need to give a printed out version of it for, you can have that PDF copy as a digital format that you can go through. Same thing with the download link. I can download this as a PDF as well. I'm going to download it so you can see. And you can also do this in a high-res print quality. So if you wanted to print it out, you could. So I'm just going to give that a second in here to load up, and you'll see. Usually takes a few seconds for it to kind of prepare to download for me to use. Just a minute. As that's loading up, I'm just going to go through here and make sure there was any other materials that I wanted to add. So again, there's about 27 pages in here you can choose from. a lot of them, especially the ones going towards the end, are going to be essentially just kind of like pre-populated information about the company. You do have some additional ones like your bio. This is really cool. So if you have a lot of like things you want to talk about and showcase to your clients, they do have a bio page that you can build out. Proof is in the numbers. So this is essentially a page about yourself. Again, credentials and awards. Let me pull up the presentation so you can see what it looks like. So I'm just going to open this up. Let me get into my Finder. So here you can see this is what the presentation is essentially going to look like. Not bad, you know, looks pretty clean. And let's just maximize this a little bit more so you can see. So again, if I'm with a client, I can actually kind of go through this on a big screen like this, and we can kind of review this in person. And it's very high res, as you can see, so it's not going to look really blurry when you're opening it up on a big screen. And this is going to have information about myself, information about my marketing strategy, promotional strategy, and I can go through this with a person right on a screen. Here's my comp page, and I think that was the last one I had on here for now.
Sorry, how did you get to that presentation mode?
What I did was I just downloaded it and I opened it up in like a PDF viewer. Yeah. My share link wasn't working right now, so I'll have to try that again in a little bit.
Okay, that share link you could send somebody
Yeah.
via text, email.
Yeah, so
anything.
there's a
It'll be
link.
mobile friendly.
It is.
Okay.
So you see here how there's like a design link and then there's a project link. The project link is the one that they can actually open up almost like a booklet.
Okay.
So it creates like a kind of like a slideshow. Now, the same way that I did this listing presentation, if I go back, we do have access to a buyer presentation as well. So if you work primarily with buyers, it's the same exact process like I just did with the listing presentation, except that the information is going to be a little bit more in line with the buyer. So I just want to open one of these up so you can see it. And again, a lot of the things in here is going to be essentially pre-populated info, but if you have a specific way that you work with buyers, go ahead and edit these however you want. But I do like here the buyer consult page. I think this is the instruction one here. I'm just going to go back and we'll delete that. But the instruction page at least says it gives you just an idea of how the template is going to be used. You know, building out the neighborhood conversation, providing them some information about the Keller mortgage, building out your buyer profile, so building out how like a preference of the type of home that they're looking for, price range, how you're going to be able to finance it. So these are things that you can build out pages for as well. You know, client name, I'm going to pop that in there. They have a table of contents again, so I'm going to pop one of those in. And the same way that I edited that listing consultation, it's going to be the same one here. But the difference with this is that there's a lot of information that I can kind of just take in and don't have to edit too much. Building your preference profile. So this is just kind of going through things like the amenities of the homes that they might be looking for, when's the best time to reach you, or the best way to kind of send you updates. So a lot of these things that you see here as well, if you've been playing around with the KW Consumer app, you can actually do things like create saved searches for your client within Command now. The other cool thing about the consumer app is that when your client's logged into the app, they'll be able to create their own saved searches and you get the updates as well. So when they're building out their preference of homes that they like with those saved collections, you're getting the updates for that right away. So again, it's going to be this, what they're calling emotional proximity. So essentially you and the client have this kind of connection together that, you know, transparency is always there. So as I'm building out this guide again, there's going to be a lot of information, you know, home wish list, you know, type of things that they're looking for. Even like what type of neighborhood preference they have, like what type of neighborhood do you want to live in? So they have a page on how that would work. Getting to know the neighborhood, mapping your move. So, you know, what's the best time to buy? And then again, neighborhood insights. I like this too, so I can actually build out like a profile of those neighborhoods. So the cool thing about these neighborhood insights I'm going to show you, if I go here at KWLS, right next to listing, there's going to be an option here called snapshots. And let's say for the neighborhood, or we can even search by zip code too. Let's use the zip code. What's the zip code for Weehawken?
0706.
Thanks. 07086. Cool. Ooh, no results. All right, we're going to try this again another way. We'll search by neighborhood name. We'll do Weehawken.
This is shared zip code. You will see it
So from here, you can see here, I just pulled up some neighborhood statistics about Weehawken. And what I can do from here is I can actually drag and drop this into my template, and it's going to give me some statistics specifically about Weehawken. Let me see if I have a better one here. Oh yeah, let's use this. This is cool. Use this little map. So it kind of like maps out the area of Weehawken there. And then this would be some of the statistics. I think I can also pull those in. Let's pull those in here as well. Ooh. Let's do this. We'll do, oof. All right, so I guess that's not gonna let me do that right now, but let's try this out. Okay, so it's not letting me do it. But in any case, I'd be able to go in, I can change out the stats for this particular area, average list price, sell price, average price per square foot if I want to add that. But this information would just give them some ideas of the neighborhoods, and then I have some additional pages, how home buying works. We'll add that as a page as well. And it just has some outlines of the steps involved. I like this, so I'm going to pop those in. And as I mentioned, if you have steps in here that you use particularly, you can go in and you can actually change those out. Let's take a look at how I have it right now. Let's see. Go to how the home buying process works. So from here you can see it just gives you a little bit of information about how it's going to lay out within the steps. You know, partnering with an agent, getting a pre-approval, you know, finding your new home, making an offer. So it's pretty much the general stuff. Under contract before your closing, here's what you can do on the day of the closing, and then your actual closing date, getting the keys, all set. And now it's actually, it's giving you information about the consumer app in here as well. So you can see here, use the guide feature in my app to get step-by-step kind of transparency around the purchase. Has anybody here been using the consumer app or taking a look at it yet?
I started playing around with it.
Yeah.
I have like, right now, just like family and friends that have it done.
Yeah, so that's what I've been doing too, just kind of like sharing out to a small circle right now.
Well, I posted it on my social.
Yeah, I saw the video clip of it.
Let's see. And I actually got like a few of my friends that downloaded it after that. I've been getting good feedback on it actually. I mean, I don't know if they're just my friends and family trying to feel good, but
Yeah, no, cool.
they've been saying they like it. Yeah, they've been saying they like it better than like Zillow or the other search apps. And It's a little more comprehensive and gives you a little bit more control.
Yeah.
Over the search.
Yeah, and then again with the guide functionality, that's something I think is going to be a really game changer for you and the client, because the client's going to have that transparency around the transaction as well, and it becomes almost like a companion piece, so they know exactly like, okay, we're out of the pre-approval stage. Here we are now in the step of the process. So they're going to have all that information on demand, essentially. Like I mentioned earlier today in the presentation I did before. All that information is going to be available to them on demand. So yeah, again, with the presentation templates, they're essentially, you build them out in here. Once you have them built out, you can actually keep them within your design library, and you can reuse them as many times as you want, changing out the property information, however it's going to be. Any questions around these? All right, cool. Yeah, so again, I would say if you want to build out one of these guides just to kind of play around with. Go ahead and put one together, edit some of the pages, get a feel for it. And then, try it out. Bring one to one of your presentations and see how your feedback is with it. But I like them a lot. They're super modern and clean. The information is really comprehensive and nice to look at, easy to follow. And I think that in general, because it kind of makes a lot of that heavy lifting work off of you. And again, these are things that they're going to constantly be kind of like tweaking and updating with new content as well, which is great. So that would cover the guide process within Command. And after this, I'm going to go into the open house materials. So that should cover it for now. I'm going to stop this one. Cool. All right, so we ended this